So today I'll be going over the different types of training methods you can use in order to become a better footballer. Now, obviously, we all know there's a variety of different training methods, but today I'll be going over the best ones in my opinion. Obviously, I'll be going over the pros and the cons of each of them. So yeah, let's get it. So the first one we got is individual training. Now, obviously, I know a lot about individual training. During lockdown, during both lockdowns actually, during the two lockdowns, I was training by myself quite a bit. So I know I'm a specialist in this subject. So yeah, individual training is good because you can work on different specific areas of your game that you want to improve. Let's say you're with like a group or you're with like one of your friends. You can't really obviously you both choose the drill that you do, so you can't really tailor it exactly to how you want to do it. Let's say you want to get better at your dribbling, but your friend wants to get better as passing or shooting. You kind of have to what's it called, make a compromise in that case. But when you're by yourself, you literally can tailor whatever you want to do. You can tailor your workout. Yeah, like I said, if you want to get better at dribbling, you can literally just focus that entire session on just dribbling the football, just getting better at your control, left foot, right foot, inside, outside the foot, and things of that nature. So yeah, that's the good thing about training by yourself. You literally can focus on specific areas of your game. Another thing is that you kind of get this boost when you train by yourself. You kind of get this boost of like, yeah, I'm outworking my competition type of thing. You feel like you're getting ahead. I think that was a big motivator for me. When I was going out there, no matter if it was raining, snowing, windy, hailstone, it always felt like, okay, I'm here. I'm the only one out here, so I'm getting ahead of my competition. I'm getting an advantage over other people who aren't working as hard as me. Just chilling in the house basically. So yeah, that's another good thing about training with yourself. You just get that psychological advantage over other people. You think, oh yeah, I'm training and I'm out here working, and people aren't really doing what I'm doing. So yeah. However though, the bad things about individual training is that you can get lazy. The session can get a bit lackluster simply because you don't really have someone there to who's watching over your back. You don't really have someone there to like hold you accountable to like keeping that intensity high. Let's say you scheduled your workouts for each rep. Let's say you're doing like a little shooting drill. You've scheduled it for like every rep you're gonna take like a 1 minute break, let's say for example. But then because you're by yourself and you look around, you're like, no one's watching. You end up taking a 2 minute break, 3 minute break. Sometimes you go on your phone, you check your notifications and all that. But yeah, that's the bad thing about just training by yourself. But when you have a partner there, um, and you tell them, okay, we're gonna be resting for 1 minute, they're there to tell you, all right, it's been 1 minute, go again now. So yeah, that's what's it called? That's the bad thing about not training by yourself. About training by yourself, sorry, is that you don't have someone there to sort of like hold you accountable type of thing. As well as this, training by yourself, it kind of lacks that in-game realism type of thing. So like, let's say, like I'll use the dribbling for example. Let's say you're trying to dribble and beat a man and then have a shot, but what's it called? You're dribbling against cones, and obviously cones are inanimate objects. They don't move, so it's kind of unrealistic. What's it called? It's kind of unrealistic compared to obviously going out opponents. When you're going out opponents, you're gonna have to change direction multiple times. Whereas with the cone, you're just doing maybe one step over and you're gone. However, it doesn't prepare you for if the defender reads that step over, or if the defender sort of you try body feint one way, you go the other way, but the defender's still there, he's still on you. It doesn't really prepare you for the unpredictability of going up against a defender, having to basically be creative. Be creative on the spot with let's say 1v1s. Be creative of how to get past your man. It can get very, if you're not careful, individual training can get very robotic. So it kind of takes away that unpredictable element. So when you get onto the pitch, you're kind of, like I said, it's robotic. You're not prepared for the unpredictability. So let's say you've worked on one move for let's say the whole summer, let's say the whole off season, you've worked on one move or a couple of moves. Let's say you're a winger, you've worked on a couple moves, but you first game in the season you get in there, and then what's it called? The fullback is tight on you, so you don't even get time to what's it called? Get the ball, line him up for the move, and then sort of what's it called? Hit the step over and go sort of thing. You don't really get that opportunity, so you're gonna have to adapt your game, or you're gonna have to adapt what you do. Maybe you're gonna have to play more one touch. Maybe you're gonna have to do a different skill. But obviously, because you've just been training by yourself, let's say, you haven't really prepared for that sort of unpredictability. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the thing about training by yourself, it doesn't really prepare you for like the different situations that can come. So so yeah, that's the negative thing about training by yourself. It doesn't really prepare you for like the unpredictability of a match where you have other players trying to get the ball off you, as opposed to just you training with cones with inanimate objects. So yeah, that's the next point. That's the next negative point about training by yourself, is that you can't really you don't have the ability to prepare for that unpredictability in a match. Because let's be honest, in a match anything can happen. So yeah. Now, the next method of training is paying for a one-to-one coach. Now, me personally, I've never paid for a one-to-one coach, but I have talked to a lot of players who have paid for one-to-one coaching, and most of the reviews have been positive. And they say that it's really worth the money, and they feel like they're becoming a better player each time they go there. One of the points that they make when they go there is that the coach is always demanding excellence pretty much from them every single session. The coach is always making sure that their standards are high, and their intensity is also high. Even when they're feeling fatigued, even when they're tired, even when it's like, let's say the session is an hour and a half, even when they're like an hour in and the players feeling tired, the coaches are always still on them, really trying to drill it into them that, yo, doesn't matter if you're fatigued, tired, your legs are starting to feel like jelly. It doesn't matter. Like, you still keep the standards. You still make sure your touch is on point, your passing is on point, shooting on target. Basically, just making sure every aspect of the game is at a good standard. So that's one of the points people have made about one-to-one coaching, is that, yeah, is that the standards, the coach always sets high standards, which in turn makes them a better player, gives them a better mentality as well. Make sure that what's it called, that they're not sloppy in anything they do pretty much. So yeah, that's the first good point about paying for a one-to-one coach. Another good thing about a one-to-one coach is that they relieve sort of like the mental stress of having to like tailor your football drills, pretty much tailor your workouts. So obviously, if you're training by yourself, let's say you're going down to the local Astro, training by yourself, you're pretty much beforehand, depending on what you're trying to work on today, whether it's passing, defending, shooting, dribbling, whatever, you're pretty much gonna have to count with the drills beforehand. Obviously, set up the cones to do your specific drills. Yeah, that can be mentally taxing even before you even get onto the actual pitch and start warming up. So obviously, a one-to-one coach, he takes all of this out. He takes all the guesswork out for you. You literally just tell him your position and what you're trying to work on, or what he thinks you need to work on. Let's say you need to work on your strike. You need to work on shooting for your weak foot. He'll set up the cones. He'll lead the session pretty much, which just leaves you to just focus on executing. Just focus on getting your weak foot better. Just or whatever you need to get better. Just focus on becoming a better player. So yeah, that's the next thing about a one-to-one coach, is that just takes all the guesswork out of it. Just relieves that mental stress of having to set up drills. He's the one who does all of that. You just need to show up, and yeah, show up, execute, and just focus on becoming a better player. So yeah, that's the next point. And then the last positive I've heard from people is that specific one-to-one coaches also have links to academies, or links to teams at a higher level, basically, semi-pro, sort of step 3, step 2, step 1, that sort of thing. So yeah, I've heard from my cousin in particular. He says he goes to a one-to-one guy who has links with academies such as Arsenal, Chelsea, Watford. He sent a lot of his players down there. So yeah, so obviously that's a big positive if your one-to-one coach can basically send you to an academy, send you to have a trial, to basically just showcase your talent, and at least give you that opportunity to show what you're about. Because obviously a lot of people don't really actually get that opportunity to actually, as a cool, to actually go for even a trial, let alone play for an academy. Just even go to a trial or play against an academy to try to show what they're about. A lot of people don't really get that opportunity. So if you can find a one-to-one coach who's got those links, who's got those connections to higher levels, like I said, academy or semi-pro, or a high level semi-pro team, then hey, that's obviously gonna help you in the long run. So yeah, that's the last positive about having a one-to-one coach, is that if he's got connections, he can easily progress your football career to new heights. So yeah. However, on the other hand, one-to-one coaching does come with its problems. First of all, is the obvious one, is obviously the payments. Some one-to-one coaches charge very high prices, to the point where most people I talk to can only really go once a week, and once a week is better than nothing, but it's not really gonna like take you leaps and bounds as a player. You need to be training probably away from your team training, probably about 3 times a week. I'm talking like outside of team training, probably like at least 3 times a week to really see those exponential improvements as a player. So that's number one, where um, the prices can just be a bit mad. So yeah, another thing about one-to-one coaching is that the coach himself, it could just not be the right coach for you. Maybe you feel like the coach is a bit too relaxed. Maybe you feel like the coach is really only there for a paycheck for his money. Maybe he's doing certain drills that you feel are very basic, like that you can realistically do by yourself. Maybe he hasn't got the equipment. Because another good thing I hear about one-to-one sessions is that they've got like the different sort of equipment that is they've got like the expensive equipment that what's it called? Most footballers don't really can't really afford, can't really pay for. You know, they've got the mannequins, they've got the mini goals, they've got this, they've got that. Most people they only really invest in cones. So obviously going to a one-to-one, you get all of that, you get all of the mad equipment. But let's say your one-to-one coach doesn't have all of that. Let's say he only has cones as well. You're kind of thinking in your head, you're kind of thinking like, oh damn, like I'm paying for all of this just for him to use cones. Like he doesn't have any of the, like I said, the mannequins, the mini goals, the ladders, all of this equipment that we don't really pay for. You're kind of thinking in your head, damn, this is why I paid for him to get access to that equipment. But if he doesn't have it, then you're kind of thinking, damn, why am I paying for this guy? So yeah. So yeah, these are the two issues with having a one-to-one coach. One could be the expenses, because obviously you know these one-to-one coaches, some of them love to charge like extortionate prices. You could probably, even if you can afford it, you could probably only afford it for one day of the week, which isn't really gonna give you like, which isn't really optimal. Sorry, for trying to really take those exponential steps as a player. And then number two, maybe it's a coach where you don't feel like he's really the guy to really get you to the next level. Maybe he doesn't have the equipment. Maybe his mentality isn't really there. Maybe you don't feel like he's pushing you enough in that sense. So yeah, those are the two negatives about one-to-one coaching. So next up, we got training with a friend. Now, training with a friend is very good in terms of the sense that you can motivate and you can push each other. And obviously, you just find yourself just naturally having a more intense training session. So, for example, when I'm by myself, like I kind of said, for the individual training, you kind of find yourself giving yourself extra time to rest. You might get distracted a little bit. You might just be just wandering, just looking in space, just zoning out, or you might even be distracted to the point where you're just on your phone, texting people, looking at stuff, all of that. However, when you're with your boy, you can or your teammate, you find yourself to be fair, even me, when I go train with my boy, I find myself literally like taking even less time in between breaks. So let's say we've agreed for 3-minute breaks. After 2 minutes, I'm up. I'm trying to go again, because obviously just naturally you're just trying to what's it called? Naturally you're trying to compete with each other. You're trying to show the other person like, nah, you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Like I said, it's just good friendly competition, which will only take your game to the next level. So yeah, that's the first point about training with a friend. Just training with a single friend. You can push each other, motivate each other, and yeah, you can basically just compete with each other, which is only going to make you a better player. So this can apply particularly if you're training with a guy who's on a higher level than you, sort of. Let's say, for example, you're 16 and you currently play for like a semi-pro team, but your friend, he plays at a slightly higher level. He's an academy player. Obviously, if you're training with him consistently, you're sort of going to pick up his habits that have basically got him to that level. So, for example, you're going to pick up his intensity, obviously the little things as well. For example, let's say you're doing a passing drill with him. Obviously, you're gonna see his attention to detail. So he's gonna play on your back foot every time. Left foot, right foot, doesn't really matter. He's always gonna do that. Let's say again a passing drill. You don't really check your shoulders, but you see him constantly just scanning, just getting into good habits, preparing for the match day. Obviously, you're gonna adopt those habits as well, which are only gonna make you a better player. So yeah, that's the good thing about training with a friend, is that especially if they're on a higher level than you, you're only gonna get better. And then lastly, when you train with a friend, you're way more likely to commit, and you're way more likely to, what's it called? To go to each session basically. So you're way less when you're by yourself, and you wake up one morning. Let's say you've scheduled to train in the morning by yourself. You wake up one morning, you're just feeling mad tired. You're like, nah, I can't be asked. I can't be asked. So you skip that training session. Whereas if you had scheduled it with a friend, you're way less likely to to miss that training session. You're way more likely to be disciplined and just go, even if you're not feeling the best. You're way more likely to be disciplined and just go. Simply because, one, you don't really want to let your friend down. You don't want to be known as the guy who says he's gonna do something and he doesn't really do it. You know what I'm saying? And then number two, you also have that thing of like, oh, but if I don't go and he still goes, he's getting ahead of me type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, even indirectly, it's still promoting that competition. It's still holding you to that higher standard, even when you're not even together. And let's say you he's training and you're not, you're still gonna feel inside like, oh damn, like he's training, he's getting better, while I'm just sitting here being lazy. You're gonna feel bad about yourself. So obviously you're way more likely to just go, even no matter how you feel, whether you're feeling good, average, or terrible, you're way more likely to go. Because like I said, you don't want to let your boy down, and you don't want him to get ahead of you in terms of the competition, in terms of getting better as a player. So yeah, that's the last positive about training with a friend. So a negative of training with a friend may be that the friend you're training with isn't really at the level you require to get better as a player. Perhaps you're doing the drills and you feel like, oh, it's not at the intensity I like. The passes aren't really crisp. They aren't really crisp. The touches aren't really crisp as well. The attention to detail is not really there, and it's not the fact that your boy's not taking it seriously. He's just perhaps just not at the level that you need him to be in order to have like a good training session, in order to feel like, okay, yeah, I'm really getting better as a player. So he might just not be at the level that you require him to be at. And then also, even if you do have a friend who's at that level, who you feel like you have really good training sessions with, they may be inconsistent and unreliable. Perhaps you're the guy who's, you're always trying to train. You're always saying, oh, you're texting him saying, oh, you're trying to train, and then he tells you, yeah, I'm trying to train, and then let's say an hour before the next day, an hour before you're scheduled to train, he cancels on you saying, oh, I feel tired, my knees hurting, this and that. There's always that guy. There's always an excuse to not train, and then you're just like, oh, what's even the point? Because even if you're going out to train by yourself and you're still getting ahead, it's still annoying. It's still annoying because it's like you've scheduled to train with your boy. You've probably had drill set up in mind, and just him canceling all the time is just annoying. And obviously, when you actually do have someone there, I would say it's much better than just being by yourself. Because like I said, there's someone there to push you, someone there to motivate you, and yeah, which is only going to make you a better player. So those are the two negatives about what's it called, training with a friend. Is that firstly, they might just not be at their level, and then secondly, they might, even if they're at the level, they might just be unreliable and just not trustworthy basically. So yeah. And then the last training method is literally just playing in small-sided games. This could be five aside, seven aside, nine aside. So yeah, that's the next method of training. A good thing about this is obviously match realistic. It gives you all the match realism just in a smaller sort of area. You get the match realism of players on the opposite team trying to tackle you, having to do certain movements, having to play one touch, two touch, having to take on men. Just saying, just being able to um, just work on your game through small sided games against high level players as well is only going to make you a better player. Especially like I said, if you play against players who are better than you, that's only going to make you better. So for example, me personally, um, normally on Thursdays I go to some seven aside place where I play with sort of players who are trying to get up international league and all of that. And yeah, on the first day it was sort of a baptism of fire. I remember I went with my boy and we sort of like made a seven aside team. We went there, and I remember we won the first game, but then the second game we were playing against guys who were national league, or guys who were trying to make it to that national league level, and we got slapped. I can't remember the score. I think it was like 5-0 or something. It was an absolute baptism of fire. But then obviously I think we went there like for the next 2 weeks, and then that third week we went there, we ended up drawing 1-1 with that team. So obviously, we'd improved. Clearly we had adapted our games to basically match their level. We'd raised our intensity, yeah, and just improved on certain aspects of our game. So as you can see there, you're only going to make progress when you play against better players in these small-sided games. Now, me personally, I think small-sided games are like the best way to basically train, to basically just improve your game. Like I said, match realistic. You do all the match realistic situations. If you're centre mid, you can basically practice receiving the ball, knowing when to turn, knowing when to bounce it back to your centre back, knowing when to play one or two touch. For me it's the best way to basically just improve your game, especially against high levels. Especially if you're a younger guy, try to play with other high level players. Let's say you're 16 years old. Even try to find like grown men who play like seven aside, who yeah, you play small sided games, 5-a-side, 7-a-side. It's only going to improve you as a player. I did that, and yeah, it improved me for sure. Like when I was 16, that's when I started to play against, grown men in these small sided games, and then I realized, okay, this is what I have to do. I don't have as much time on the ball because obviously they're more physically stronger than you. You don't really have that license to like receive the ball and then sort of like hold them up. They're just gonna move you out the way. They're just gonna get their form and just move you out the way. In that sense, I learned, okay, I have to get stronger, I have to be more physical, and yeah, it just teaches you a lot basically. Just playing against, like I said, if you're a young guy, 15, 16, 17, playing against grown men, or even if you're an older guy, 22, 23, literally just playing against guys who are better than you. So yeah, me personally, I'd say the only bad things about small sided games as a way of training is that number one, you don't really get to pinpoint and fully focus on like improving your strengths and your weaknesses. Let's say you're a striker and you really want to work on your shooting. In small sided games you can only shoot when you have the opportunity to shoot, if you get what I'm saying. You don't really have the chance to like literally just be by yourself, you a few set of cones and just doing shooting drills, just constant repetition until you get it perfect, until you get better. So that's probably one negative of just playing small sided games. You don't really have that chance to pinpoint your weaknesses or just even improving your strengths. And then the next one is, if you're playing with, like I said, if you're playing with players who are not at the level where the games really aren't at that intensity that you need to get better, it's really kind of pointless, to be honest. You're much better just training by yourself at a good intensity than playing in small sided matches where the players really aren't at their level. That's gonna even help you improve as a player. So yeah, those are the two things I'd say. Those are the two negatives I'd say of small sided games. So those are the different types of training methods to improve as a footballer. For me personally, my advice would be literally, if you can train with someone who's at a good level, always take the opportunity to train with one person or multiple people who are at a good level. I feel like training is always best when you're with people who are with serious people who really want to improve as a player, who are at a good level as well. So that would be my advice. Just always just try to constantly find people who are at the level and who really have that sort of drive and ambition to improve. Because training by yourself is calm, but trust me, it's much better. It's much better when you have people around you. Because, like I said, you just subconsciously you just want to compete. You just want to show that you're better than the other guys, but not in a negative way. It's just healthy competition. It's only gonna make the training sessions better. You're gonna come away with more of a feeling that, yeah, I really put in the work today, and you're only gonna get better as a player. So yeah, that would be my advice. But I've been JT, and I'm out.